Hi, my name is Caterina Vazquez. That will be the one of the last times that I'm saying that. And this is my portfolio journey. So I wrote in my dedication scholarship essay. Writing was my first love, graphic design was my first serious relationship, TV production was my mistress, and marketing became my obsession. So I kind of repurposed that in my dedication scholarship, and then I wrote it back in 2016. Just to give you an overview, my interests were very much all over the place. Like I said before, it was like writing, graphic design, TV production, and marketing. And I really wanted to leave here good with those things, but trying to find a main focus that was my thing and what I was going to be known for. So the first two portfolios, I didn't really fully understand what portfolio really was. Like, I did to a very basic level. I knew that this is all going to go towards my portfolio, but it's very hard to understand how your portfolio is going to look if you don't really know what you want to do. I also just never had a class that was so focused on my goals and solely focused on dedicating my time to work on something that I liked. I was so used to a regular school schedule that this kind of threw me off, which I think just added to my confusion of not knowing what to do when I got here. I think these two were probably the weirdest months for me because of that. Even though I think I had a great portfolio 1 month, nothing I did really went towards my current goals in marketing. So I was able to get a portfolio piece for port one, and then I was able to really get out there. But I feel like I was kind of just like going through the motions in a sense. Like, okay, they're telling me to network, so I'm gonna network and I'm gonna get out there and not do stuff so on my own and kind of just you know work together and just get out there. So that's when I started shadowing Brittany for the Lights Out show. It was in Port One, and um, I was good at writing, so I was going to do a blog. And I kind of just was, like I said, just like going through the motions. And then in Port Two, my dad lost his job, and I started feeling like a lot of pressure on myself. But the one really good thing that came out of Port Two was that I started really focusing on my LinkedIn and trying to cultivate it and trying to really hone into it. But Port Two, I was also very much focused on like graphic design and writing, just because I feel like I just kept going back to my exes and I kept like looking back, um, instead of moving forward and trying to see what else I could be good at, like in TV production and in I feel like I was playing it safe in a sense. Then Port 3 came around and it was very different. I received validation, and I'm very much a person that if I'm not told that I'm good at something, I think that I am bad at it. Validation is very important to me, which can be good and it can be bad. So, Port 3, I got offered a position interning for a company called Vegan Design through a friend that I made in the film program. I had my very first big assignment from the Lights Out show. It actually ended up being my only assignment from the Lights Out show. But I basically got to research the target market for the show, and Cal and Ozzy were very happy with what I presented. So things were very much looking up. Between then and Port 4, I started to have some health issues that kind of creeped up on me. Everything good was happening to me while some not so good things were happening to me, but I pushed myself, and the good things like startup weekend helped me deal with everything that I was dealing with health wise. It was kind of like a welcome distraction. Port 4 easily to me was the most productive month that I had in portfolio, just because like even the fact that I went online, I was just completely dedicated my time to the event and to my health and didn't focus on school too much. Like portfolio like allowed me to focus on this event. And then through that event, I was able to obtain another internship with Sow House. Um, And here in Port 5, things kind of fell into place. Port 5 was a time where everything was okay. Like, I wouldn't necessarily say I peaked in Port 5 because I hope to continue rising to the peak, like keep walking up the mountain in a sense. But health wise, I started my new medication. I was coming back to school, and my schedule started kind of to ease back into normalcy in a sense. I had received a title at Soul House, the marketing coordinator. I started my UCF application. I finally got in front of a camera to take some shots of my brand and me. I got to be a production manager, which I always wanted to try out, and I put myself out there and went to a networking event. And this time, everything just seemed meaningful. Um, like I said, like I did this in Port One, and it didn't really seem. It felt like I was going through the motions, but this time there was some meaning behind the motions that was going on, and it felt like everything had a purpose, and it was like thoroughly thought out. So uh, Port 5 was a very good month for me, even though I wasn't solely focused on marketing. Like I had fun in what I was doing, and I didn't really notice what was going on, and it was amazing. I really enjoyed Port 5. And now we're here in Port 6, and I am very stressed, and in a very different place than I was in Port 5. But I will talk about the highlight of my month, which was the Luca project. This month started off with a bit of a surprise. I drove down to Miami by myself for the very first time, which was really cool. Kind of just went to visit my family. I knew we didn't have blend that week, so it seemed kind of perfect. When I got home, a few things were going on that my parents were trying to hide from me. Luca was one of them. My family became responsible for him, but knew that they could not take care of him and were going to call the pound on him. And I decided to step in and see if maybe a friend wanted him. So I created this flyer. Couldn't really get any good pictures of him, but I had to make it work. So I started off just asking my immediate friends to repost. When that didn't work, I reached out to someone I knew had a little bit more pull in the Miami community. She was an old friend of mine from high school, and she had like expressed interest. She had like the post, and she, when I asked her to reshare it, she said yes, like willingly. She was like super excited about it. She was like, of course, I will. Then I quickly kind of realized like if she's gonna say yes, I'm sure other people will say yes too. So I reached out to several Miami based influencers, like micro influencers, and they all said yes too, but I still was barely receiving any interest on Luca. So I decided to ask influencers with a higher following, but were still Miami based. These were people with 100K or more followers. And that kind of did the trick. I was receiving a lot of engagement. On Monday I had 400 new people come into my social media, and I was able to reach like a lot of people, but now a lot of people were contacting me, which is the part that I needed. So um the macro influencers really did the trick, and Luca was able to find a great home, and I'm currently receiving so many updates on him. He's very happy, and so are his new parents and his brother. So this month, I was also finishing up what I had left to do in my UCF application, which included me setting aside time to study for the GRE. I use an application called Wisant to find a tutor, and an application called Magoosh to study and get specific words that will be on the test. I can officially say I somewhat or I'm slightly more confident in what to expect in the exam. Um, I feel like before this month, I was completely blind. What I knew about standardized testing was just the SAT. So this one is clearly going to be more difficult, and just like the verbiage of it, and like the words and everything in it is just a completely other level. And granted, because it is for a graduate program, so I'm kind of just going. going to spend a lot more time doing that, especially since I'm taking the test April 13th. So now it's kind of like crunch time. The last part of the application process includes for me to write a purpose statement, which was tricky. The feedback that I received was basically that my writing was just way too casual for a graduate school, and I need to focus more on like the academia aspects. So it is still a work in progress, but it is getting there. I did hire somebody to professionally like look it over and tell me what else I needed to get into a graduate program. It's very tricky. It's not just regular writing. There is a template for a graduate program that I have to follow. Even though it's not written on the UCF website, there's kind of like this like known thing where you have to know how to write a purpose statement, and you have to make sure that it's geared towards your academic goals and expectations, and it can't be casual. Like that's not something that it can be. So I'm gonna keep on working on that. Lastly, this month I was also meeting with the Sew House team, which now includes Lorianne. I was able to research and outline content for 2 ebooks and 1 toolkit, and sitting in on design meetings and kind of putting in my input wherever I can. So this was kind of like the fun part of my month. As I said before, I really love research and I love outlining stuff, and I love working with Jessica. So this was like a cool break from everything else that was going on this month. So, kind of just to bring everything around full circle, uh, this is my resume. And I don't really want anybody to like look at the design part of it. I kind of just want to focus on the content right now. I made the before resume my first year in college. I left college with this exact amount of experience. Maybe only one thing added to it which was a freelance graphic designer. My goal coming into Full Sail was to gain more experience, and through portfolio, I was able to work on this and get opportunities, and really was able to like create content basically for my resume because I had nothing. Um, I needed not only to grow my resume, but I needed just like to gain that experience. Like I didn't realize that when people ask like, hey, you need 2 years of experience or whatnot, I didn't really realize like how much that experience mattered. And knowing what I know now, it is very much important. So um, without portfolio, I wouldn't have this resume, and I don't think I'd ever be able to get a job, basically. um, since we're going into to Hall of Fame, I kind of just wanted to leave it on a note of a Hall of Famer. Um, Sheena Fowler said, "Full Sail goes by so fast, you have to make sure to catch the lightning in a bottle." And I feel like portfolio is you have a lid in one hand and the jar in the other, and you're kind of putting those hands closer and closer together so you finally catch that lightning. And I'm really fortunate to have been in a portfolio class, and I'm very, very happy with the outcome and what Full Sail has given me. Um, and I'm reflecting a lot about it in these last few months. So I just want to say thank you very, very much. I know I always say it like in all of my presentations, thank you to my professors, but a special, special thank you to Roxanne, you, Emily, and Renee. I really could not have done it without portfolio classes, so thank you so much.